Hey, how's it going? Just saw Spider-Man. Brand new day. Wanted to get my thoughts down. I don't know for whatever reason. Yeah. Generally pretty good. I'd say it's worth going to the movie theater for. Not perfect. I am gonna completely spoil everything. So please only watch this after you have watched the movie, or if you don't care if the whole thing's spoiled. Some of my background is I collected a lot of Spider-Man and Marvel in general in the 80s, late 80s or early 90s. So that's going to inform a lot of what I liked and didn't like about this. Um, Generally, I did like a lot of the scenes, a lot of those 80s and 90s villains we haven't seen in a Spider-Man movie yet. So I really liked watching um, uh, Boomerang, even though it was really quick. Tombstone nailed it. Who else was there? Tarantula was looked like, hey, that looks like a Marvel movie version of Tarantula. And I liked the returning Spider-Man to kind of like the street level type villains, which it's Tom Holland, so yeah, he's been a part of the big stories. But I liked seeing Spider-Man fighting that level of villain that really kind of reminded me of what most of his adventures were like, and I think that's where Spider-Man really shines. Scorpion, okay, it wasn't quite. I don't know what they could have done differently. I liked the tail and how used in the fighting, but yeah, he's all right. The other villains that really translated well, although not from the comic version of it, with the hand ninjas. The fighting style they used was absolutely excellent. I loved how they were all fighting in tandem together to be stronger than any individual one of them. So that was pretty cool. So that was good. Spoiler, which everyone already knew before the movie started, is Sadie Sink plays Jean Grey. Not and not quite Jean Grey from the comics, but I think it's an interesting introduction to her. It's interesting to have the mutant story kind of come through Jean Grey's perspective, and having her play the Jean Grey's perspective as the Shadow Cat / Rogue way that you normally introduce to the X-Men. Thought it was interesting putting Jean Grey in that particular spot, and also having her a Jean Grey who hasn't met Professor X yet, hasn't met Cyclops yet, who's kind of on her own. Originally, as it was kind of going through the movie, and as we saw in the previews, it is interesting to see Jean first using her power, like the character Malice. If you are an OG's Marvel zombie, her original introduction as she kind of possesses people and hops through, there was a character named Malice who was a pretty cool villain. And is how Dazzler got introduced to the X-Men and joined the team, was through a storyline with that. A really good comic, and great Barry Windsor Smith cover, if I remember correctly. So that was pretty good. Tom Holland is pretty good. He's playing a version of Spider-Man. At the heart of it, a version of Spider-Man that's not from the comics, but it is pretty charismatic. A pretty charismatic version. I like how they kind of ditched the idea of him being like a reporter or photographer. I mean, that just doesn't translate to what's going on today. I also liked the Black Widow. Florence Pugh was decent for her part that she had to do in it. So she was in there just for a little bit, and it was comical, but it made some sense. I also liked, given what happened in the past, I liked how Peter was really trying to hide his identity. Although, Tom Holland is married to Zendaya in real life, so there's no way they were going to keep that up through the whole movie. When it came to other things I liked the idea of spiders kind of mutating several times over their lifespan, so that makes sense and kind of starts a new chapter for him. I also liked the fake out on Zendaya, MJ, but really kind of MJ / Zendaya. I liked the fake out of the MJ character, the fake out originally where they have it act like she's like there's a piece of me that I've just always been missing, and that was really well done, and the kiss was really well done. And I liked in general how the MJ character for real found out about Spider-Man's real identity and his sacrifice he made. That made sense and felt kind of and felt a bit earned. And I like that when you create something in one movie, I like the actual consequences actually being seen in future movies. So I liked how she didn't have any recollection of Peter himself or their relationship. What I didn't like with that is I didn't like the very end where how Peter just does a secret handshake with Ned, and Ned seems to be like, "Oh, Peter, I remember who you are now." I didn't like that really. If anyone's going to remember Peter, I would hope it would be that MJ character with everything they've built so far. The villain was a bit predictable, although I really loved the whole VMAX twist. I thought that was pretty cool, how they did that. It gives Jean Grey a real kind of twisted origin story, which is pretty cool. And it also would make sense why she would suddenly get new powers. Her telekinesis would come through after realizing what was going on. I didn't like the other character, which I really, it works for the script. So again, it's kind of tough because it works for the script and the story they're trying to tell. But I have barely seen this version of the Punisher before, and he is way too cute and cuddly for the Punisher that I grew up reading about. And so, I mean, again, it kind of works for the script, but he's way too much of a teddy bear. The Punisher I grew up is just really messed up in the head, and is the surest way of knowing when someone shouldn't be a cop or shouldn't be in the military is when they're a big Punisher fan, because the whole character's ethos is how he will do anything to make things right and will just kill people, and that's not it's kind of what we saw, but not really. It was kind of a real sanitized version of the Punisher. So I would have preferred they had a different character kind of in that role. But yeah, overall, it was good to see Marissa Tomei again. It was interesting how they kind of used her to kind of get to the Jean Grey character later. That was nice. It was a great work by Sadie Sink. I don't as Jean Grey in that scene. Great emotional work in that scene. Yeah, I'm not sure if the payoff quite made sense, but yeah. The other thing that would have been really brave, but they never would have done it, is when Peter sacrifices himself for Jean Grey. I think that would have been a really interesting way to have us kind of introduce that mutants are the next big thing, as if Peter had actually died from that. Would have completely came out of left field and would have been a huge chance. Artistically, I think that would have been interesting to make the mutants kind of like the center of the Marvel universe, but which is what they've kind of hinted at. But again, that's kind of the issue, is that a big movie like this that makes so much money. Also, it kind of, the movie itself felt a little uneven, and I usually get that when movies are made by committee, which I realize they all are, but yeah, that would have been it would have been interesting to have Peter die for Jean Grey, and then to kind of be like, hey, this is a new direction we're going. Overall, like I said, it's a good movie. Not the best movie. I wouldn't put it in the upper tier or the top tier of Marvel movies, but it's in my initial reaction is it should be within the good ones to bordering on great. Yeah, so I definitely think it's worth your money to go watch. So I'm sure other people will say much smarter things, but that's my initial kind of like full spoiler thoughts. Oh, and Mark Ruffalo is a treasure. The Hulk seems to kind of be the thing that Marvel uses when they need to have like they need a cool villain or a cool hero to have to kind of spice things up because the Hulk is such a lovable character. I thought Bruce Banner scenes made a lot of sense and were good, and the rendition of the Hulk. That's kind of how I see the Hulk. Is I like the rendition of the Hulk should be really dangerous even in other situations. So yeah, I'll go ahead and say go ahead and go watch that movie.